Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. If you watched any of my videos, you'll know that my excavator, the tracks, have gone bad. And they were pretty old when I first got this excavator, but I managed to get quite a bit of time out of them. But working down in the rocks, it's really hard on them. This side is the track that's practically ripped in half. So, and the way you change tracks, there's no easy way. It's a little bit of a struggle. Even though this video is only 11 minutes long, I think it took me about three or 4 hours to change both these tracks. And the first thing you do is let out the grease of your. It's got a greased piston, and you let that grease. You loosen it up, let the grease come out. And right here, I'm going to just cut this. This track was halfway, so I just decided to cut it in half. It'd be easier to get off. And what I'm going to do on this, I've got my tracks are supposed to be in any time, and I just want to get ready to put them on. So what I'm going to do is, after I get this, you can't. These tracks are so heavy too. I mean, it's crazy how heavy they are, but I guess they have to be to do what they do. Anyway, what I do is I get a block and I cut it in half, and I'm going to set this one side of the excavator on these blocks and then proceed to do the other side. Now, hopefully my new tracks are coming in today, so I'll be able to put these new tracks back on. So right here you can see I'm taking off the plate, and then I loosen up the circ fitting and all the grease comes out. And basically that's how you get them off, and that's actually how you get them on. Once you get the tracks on the gear and the front wheel, then you can pump them back up and get them tight. I've decided that I'm going to start, every once in a while I forget to check my tracks as far as the gap in between the bottom wheel. And you're supposed to leave like a half inch, I would say a half inch to 5/8 gap underneath there. And I'm going to start checking that every day, because that's really an important thing in saving and having your tracks last a long time. If they get loose, they have a chance of coming off, and then that's when things can get damaged. So right there, a little bit of struggle. Used a 4x4, but got that thing off. I'd be lost without this little TOOLCAT, and now I have some forks for it, so it really is handy. Bobcat TOOLCAT 5600. Yeah, it's been doing really well. So right here, in preparation for putting the new tracks on, I'm going to compress both of the wheels on each side to push out as much grease as possible. That way the track has a lot of room to basically, the more you compress it, the more room you'll have to get that next track on there. And I've learned that this little ratchet strap way works pretty good. I press it in there as far as I can with that ratchet strap, and that seems to work pretty good. And then of course you got the messy job of getting the grease out of there. Now here what I'm doing is I'm just, these are areas that you can't always get to when the tracks are on there, so I'm going through and I'm cleaning up getting all the loose dirt off, and give the metal a little bit of, give it a good cleaning in preparation for the new tracks. And I like to coat, whenever I have a chance, I like to clean and coat a lot of the metal with WD-40. It penetrates into the metal and it kind of slows down the whole rusting process. And right there you can see I'm wiping all the gears with this WD-40. everything's actually been looking pretty good on this TOOLCAT. I do a pretty regular maintenance on it, but you know, maintenance is something that you have to be ready to do on a daily basis on any big equipment. It's funny that one. Now here we are. I got the call. Actually, I got the call pretty quick right after I got those 2 tracks off and got it cleaned up. And I got the call that my tracks were here, and so here's the new tracks. And these are directional. So what you want to do is you want to point the. It has a little bit of a arrowed track, and you want to point that towards the blade. So they're both going to have that pattern facing the blade. Now putting tracks on is there's no super easy way. I did learn a trick that seemed to help me, which is what I did was I basically get the track on the gear as best as I can, and then I'm gonna use a strap. And there's an eyelet on the front blade of the tractor, and basically what I do is, see, like right there, it's on the gear, but the front part's not on that idler wheel. So what I do is I put a strap on there, and then I pull that towards the blade, and that helped a lot. I was able to get that on a lot easier. Now here you can see I've got it on the track. It's both on the idler wheel and the gear. And I got my Milwaukee grease gun, and I'm going to pump this thing up. Of course, you need whenever you're doing these tracks, you almost have to have a brand new tube of grease because it takes a lot of grease in that piston. And you can see how much comes out when you take it out. It was a little slow going when I first got started. It wasn't pumping grease very good, but there it goes right there. And you can see it going up. Now this is where what I do is I get it part way up, and then I run it a little bit, make sure it's everything's on the right location, and then I'm checking the gap. And I want about a 1/2 inch gap under those wheels. So right now that one's done. It's pressurized and looking good. It's nice to have some new shoes on the Bobcat. So right here I pump up, I basically get the other side ready and proceed to put these on. It's not easy. I mean, anybody that's changed tracks before or had tracks fall off and had to put them back on, they just weigh so much that moving them around is difficult. And but I think this strap off the front blade, that works pretty good. Like what I'm doing right there is basically I'm pulling it, stretching it out, and getting it where it can be pushed onto that front idler. And that seemed to work pretty good. You got to remember, I'm doing this by myself too, so it's not easy to move these things around. These tracks are Bobcat tracks. I try to use all Bobcat stuff. They seem to be most of the stuff is made in USA, and I'm kind of happy with that. So right there you can see I'm still struggling a little bit to get this one on there. But I finally do get it on. And right here I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Get it pumped up real good. Make sure she's tracking on where she's supposed to. This one I ended up replacing the cert. It's a special little grease fitting on this side. I wasn't sure if it was leaking or not, and I didn't want to take a chance, so I replaced it. And here we go, pump it up. It's going to be nice to have this thing back out on the lot working. It's been down for about a week. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this episode of Changing the Tracks on your Bobcat E50. Please subscribe, like the video, and I will see you next time. Later.